Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel with Aging Advantage, and Aging Advantage is a nonprofit that helps disabled adults and seniors in our St. Louis area. And today we have Lila speaking on dining and dementia. So it's a pre-recorded video that we want to share with you all. So we'll go ahead and share it.
Hi, my name is Lila Shepley. I'm a certified geriatric care manager with A+ Aging Advantage and Aging Advantage, which is a nonprofit serving our area seniors and their families during times of need. Today we're going to talk about successful and pleasant dining with your loved one or your client or your resident living with dementia. I'll be talking mainly in the community, facility, nursing home setting scenarios, but you can pull information from that and apply it to a home setting if you're a family caregiver. It's our job as care partners to figure out what our loved ones, clients, or residents living with dementia are trying to tell us. They are who they were, they're just different now. The brain changes are affecting time awareness, wayfinding, learning and memory, and understanding language. These changes are moment to moment, day to day, place to place, and person to person. So you have to remain very flexible and aware of the fact that your loved one, your client, your resident may have been one way during the lunch meal and is completely different at the dinner meal. And I'm sure you've noticed that. So that's not news to you, right? First of all, let's just do a quick overview of what we're going to talk about, and then we'll go into some examples. All right. And we'll recap this at the end because it is a lot of information. The brain changes and the effects on dining. First of all, the brain changes, the dementia affect the vision. Peripheral vision decreases, and we'll go through that a little more in a minute. In later stages, sensory experiences take precedence. The effects on dining, they may no longer recognize the food. They will need more time to eat. They will maybe not remember that they just ate. They'll become messier with more spills. They'll be much more sensitive to dislikes. It affects their food choices. They may suddenly develop new food preferences. Mini meals are good. Serve flavored or colored water because just water by itself may no longer appeal to them at all. Serve finger foods when they can no longer hold utensils. And they have trouble choosing, so limit their choices. Another thing to always keep in mind, and we'll go over this again in a bit, is their life story. With whom did they dine previously? Did they prepare the meal alone? Did they have helpers? In which room did they dine for each meal? Was breakfast in the kitchen, lunch in the kitchen or at the office, and dinner in the dining room? So think about the settings. Did they have the TV on? If so, what show? Did they have music on? What kind of music? What genre? Dining is an activity, so you can get them very involved in the preparation. How can they help you prepare? Wipe the table before or after the meal, set the table, fold the napkins. They may only fold one and be done, but they did do one, or they tried to do one. That helps them feel included. Enhance the experience with aromas, textures, and colors. A creative variety of foods. Pre-meal traditions while waiting. Did they say a prayer? Did they sing a song? Also keep in mind the dining environment, the noise level. Is it too loud? Those with dementia, they'll focus on something that we've tuned out. So be very aware of all the sounds going on, especially in a community environment. You know, there might be some music in the background, all the The workers and the servers are talking. There's clanking of silverware and of the plates. There's a lot of verbal noise going on amongst themselves, whether it's talking or making noises. The lighting, make sure the lighting is optimal for seeing the plate and seeing the food on the plate. And the table setting, how many are seated at the table? Are the plates, glasses, and utensils easy to see and reach? If you're using a clear plastic cup with water in it, they might not be able to see that at all. So a lot to keep in mind to make the dining experience successful and pleasant and help ensure your loved one, client, resident is getting the nutrition they need to stay as healthy as they can. So let's go through an example of Jane. Jane lives in a community setting. She's seated at the table and she is given a plate of meatloaf. Dietary asks what else she wants to eat. She starts to push her silverware off the table. She pushes her plate towards the edge of the table. Dietary again asks what she wants to eat, and Jane keeps saying, no, 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 and she's obviously getting worked up. She's pushing everything off the table or threatening to push it off the table. Dietary says, but Jane, meatloaf is your favorite. You love meatloaf. Jane says, no, no, no. She's getting more and more upset. Dietary's frustrated. They storm away. This happens every meal recently. Jane's family is threatening to move Jane to another community if this isn't resolved. The goal was for a successful dining experience. We have failed Jane. The biggest barrier is communication. We have to remember at all times, as difficult as it might be in the moment, Jane is doing the best that she can. We must enter Jane's reality as she is no longer able to enter ours. What actions can we take to help Jane have a pleasant meal? We must be the detective. First, where is Jane in her dementia? According to Teepa Snow's gems, Jane would be an emerald. Emeralds need a job and a purpose. Emeralds need familiar tasks. What language remains? Language is becoming more and more difficult for Jane to interpret. Put the food on the table and point to it, not long sentences. Meatloaf, or here's your meatloaf. Use picture menus if you're giving those kinds of choices. How is the dementia affecting her vision? I said we'd talk about vision, so we will. The average 20, 25-year-old has a peripheral vision that is put your arms straight out, look straight ahead, and they can see fingers wiggling. As you age, this gets smaller and smaller. With dementia, it even gets smaller. It can become scuba mask, binocular, monocular. So imagine, put your hands up like this, like a scuba mask, and imagine only being able to see what's right in front of you. So the food needs to be in her line of sight. Make sure she can see it. Don't talk to her while she's looking at her food, because then she looks up at you and she can't see her food, and she may forget her food's down there. It gets very complicated for Jane. Keep it simple. What happens if you're trying to eat and someone's talking to you? You can't do both at the same time. So remember that. And remember, in the next scenario, it gets even smaller. Okay. We need to go with Jane's flow. We also need to think about what skills does Jane have left. Her skills may change meal to meal, day to day. Be empathetic. Say, I'm sorry, but you have to mean it. I'm sorry, Jane. Let me get you something else. Look at her life story. If you're in a community, their life stories. If she's at home, you can also do a life story. I have a life story here from a community, and it's okay, but it doesn't include everything. I never did find one life story that included everything. So if you get a life story, you may need from the community, you may need to add to it, personalize it even more. But it's an excellent jumping off point. So this one says, what is your morning routine? What do you enjoy for breakfast? Do you eat breakfast? Well, there's no mention of lunch or dinner. There's no mention of what the environment looked like. There's no mention of who prepared the meals, who served the meals. Also, but it does say, what are your usual eating times? Okay, so for Jane, for example, she fed the family at 6:30 every night, 6:30. Well, it's only 5 o'clock. She's not even hungry yet. It's not dinner time yet. And her favorite meal is not meatloaf. Used to be meatloaf, way back when she was a child, but it's not, it hasn't been her favorite meal for a long, long time. Actually, pork chops are. So to say it's her favorite meal, it's good intentions, but it's not true. And that angers her more. But she can't correct that. She can't tell you because she doesn't remember the words for pork chop. She just knows that slab of meat on the plate with ketchup on it, maybe. That's not her favorite meal right now, today, at this moment. So what was Jane's mealtime like? And these kinds of details might be hard to put together. Her children may not even know. But Jane's mealtime, she spent much of her day in the kitchen preparing the food. She took great pride in that. Go to the store, pick out just the right ingredients, and then she'd chat on the phone with her friends while she was cooking. Those phones attached to the wall with the long cord that you drag around. She'd be on the phone chatting with Sally while she was cooking. Then she'd set the table and serve the food to her family. She never ate at a restaurant. She never was waited on by family members. She doesn't like to be waited on. She does not like to be served. It's very uncomfortable to her. It's very unfamiliar to her. She was the hostess. She took care of her family. Not comfortable being served her food. So keep that in mind as well. If that is true for your loved one, client, or resident. Also think, is Jane an introvert or an extrovert? If she's in a community setting, she is sitting in a dining room full of strangers. Even her server is a stranger. Now, the server might have worked there for 15 years, but Jane might not remember right this moment that she's met this server before, so the server is a stranger. And what needs are unmet physically or emotionally? Let's talk about some of the different unmet needs. Emotional unmet needs. Anger, sadness, loneliness, fear or anxiety, boredom. Physical unmet needs, hunger and thirst, energy level, elimination. Does she need to go to the bathroom? Discomfort, pain that she can't tell you about. Her ingrown toenail is digging in her toe and her shoes are too tight on that toe and she can't tell you. All she knows is it hurts like the dickens and she can't focus on her food because her foot hurts, but she has no way of telling you this. All right. Is she scared? Even though she's surrounded by all these people, is she lonely? Because her husband's not there. She wants her husband. And she may not know she wants her husband, but she's longing for that familiar person. Good time to again say, I'm sorry, Jane. Let me get you a different meal. If possible, offer her 2 choices. Bring them both to her, let her choose. That's not always possible, especially at home. Maybe she's not that hungry. Maybe she just wants some applesauce. but offer her something else. All right. Some ideas on how to make the mealtime more familiar to Jane. Make it an activity. Have Jane come in before the meal and help get the table ready. Or even just sweep the floor if she can. And she may only do it for 1 second and be done, but that's okay. Have her help set the table if she's able. Maybe she can just put one fork down. That's okay. Have Jane wipe down the table before or after the meal. She needs to feel as if she matters and needs an environment that's familiar, which I know is extremely difficult to do in a community environment. But if you have some time, see if you can work some things in that are familiar to Jane. Another example is Peter. Peter loves to eat. Peter is hungry. He's also in a community setting. He jabs at his plate with missing his pasta time and time again. He's jabbing and he's jabbing and he's jabbing. When he finally gets a bite, he brings the fork halfway to his mouth and he stops. He can't get it any further. That's as far as he can get it. He uses his fingers. He puts it down. He uses his fingers. He's grabbing pasta and shoving it in his mouth. The music in the dining room is upsetting him. And he starts shouting, "Off, off, off." And he's so distraught he can't eat. So the goal is for a successful dining experience. And again, we have failed Peter. The biggest barrier is communication. We have to remember at all times Peter is doing the best he can. We must enter Peter's reality. He's lost his ability to enter ours. What actions can we take to help Peter have a pleasant meal? We must be the detective. Where is Peter in his dementia? According to Teepa Snow's gems, Peter would be transitioning from an emerald to an amber. He's lost his ability to use his utensils, though he still tries. He isn't sure what the care partners are all doing. There's just all these people walking around. He doesn't know what anyone's doing. Does he still recognize that his food is food? It doesn't appear so, for the most part. How is the dementia affecting his vision? Well, Peter now has binocular vision. His vision's getting smaller and smaller. Put your hands up like this. Look through it. That's all you can see. Imagine how that would feel. That's all you can see. And there's all this just stuff that keep people and things that keep going in front of this little bitty field of vision. Look around. Look at your plate. Look how limited your field of vision is. Can you imagine someone talking to you while you're trying to look at your plate and trying to figure out how to get what's on that plate in your mouth because you're really hungry and you like to eat? And there's all this noise, there's this music. What language remains? We need to use simple words such as dinner. And we must limit the talking and the noise. We need to go with his flow. What skills does Peter still have left? You need to be aware of that. Not what's gone, but what remains. What needs are unmet? Physical and emotional. The list we went through before. Unmet physical needs, hunger and thirst, energy level. Does he need to go to the bathroom? Discomfort again, pain. Is he hot? Is he cold? Is his sweater itchy? Unmet emotional needs, anger. Well, he's getting angry, that's for sure. Sadness, loneliness, fear or anxiety, boredom. Is he scared? Again, like Jane, is he lonely? There's all this stuff going on, but his person isn't there, whoever his person was, or his dog. Not there. He might be lonely. Say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Peter. The music is too loud. Let's find a quiet place for you to eat. Gently guide him to a quiet, peaceful place for his meal. And there might be more success there. Look at his life story. What time did he usually eat? What are his likes and dislikes? Is the food touching on the plate and he doesn't like that? Things like this make all the difference. Let's look at what Peter's mealtime was like and see if this community environment is similar in any way. Peter worked all day, every day from the age of 18. Now he's 85. 70 years. No, pardon me. He worked 50 years. Now he's 85. His entire adult life, he'd go to work, he'd come home, he'd come in the door, he'd put his briefcase right inside the door, he'd take off his raincoat or his overcoat, hang it in the closet, he'd go back to his room, he'd take off his sport coat and his tie and put a sweater on and button it up, he'd take his work shoes off and put on his slippers. And then he would go in the kitchen, say hi to his wife, fix a drink, go into his little study, turn on the TV, smoke a cigarette probably, have his drink until his wife called him for dinner. Well, now all of a sudden it's dinner time. Come on. So there's no time for him to transition. There's no time to kind of set up. It's time to eat. And all of a sudden he's sitting there and there's food and there's noise and there's music and he can't see much and he can't remember how to use his fork. And it's horrible and the music's too loud and he's a mess. So we need to figure this out for him so that he can have a successful and peaceful dining experience. He deserves that. Ideas on how to make this a meaningful activity. If he's in a community environment and there's someone available, and I know that's difficult. I worked in one, I understand that. 15 or so minutes, whatever, before dinner, walk him into his room. Help him put on his sweater, his slippers, something that he's comfortable in now. Turn on his TV and let him watch for a little bit. Just make sure it's not the news, because the news is scary. When it's mealtime, walk him into the dining room. And there's a little bit of a familiar pattern, just a little bit. So I hope this has made sense that we need to be the detective. I know in the home environment, some of these tips help, some don't. In the community setting, some help, some don't. You've got to keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking until you get it just right. There's so many factors that affect the meal. The setup of the dining room, the lighting, the noise level, how many are seated at each table, the brain changes, loss of language, loss of vision, loss of understanding, loss of ability. But so much still remains, and it's our job. It's our responsibility to find out what still remains and to build on that. So just a quick recap of brain changes and the effects on dining, the effects on vision, peripheral vision decreases. We didn't even get to monocular. That's just one. There is no depth perception left. Imagine that. No depth perception left and just that little bitty bit of vision. In later stages, sensory experiences take precedence. Brain changes in the effects on dining may no longer recognize the food, may no longer recognize that food is food. Will need more time to eat, may not remember that they just ate. Will become messier with more spills. More sensitive to dislikes. May suddenly develop new food preferences. Maybe feed mini meals throughout the day instead of 3 big meals. Serve flavored or colored water so they can see it, especially if it's in a clear plastic cup. Offer finger foods, since they can no longer most likely use utensils. And they have trouble choosing, so limit choices. Life story. Good to know as much as you can. Even if it's your mom or dad, because mom or dad, in their mind, may be 5 years old. And if they're 5, you weren't alive then. So if there's anyone that knows what their life was like, or if they had shared a story with you about, for example, every Sunday they had Sunday supper at grandma's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is what they ate. Those are good things to know. Jot them down. You may need to pull from that. If mom's crying at dinner, she may be thinking that she's 5 or 6 or 7 at grandma's, but she doesn't know where grandma is. She can't find grandma. Just good little tidbits to know. And meal preparation. Who prepared the meal? Who served the meal? Did your loved one eat alone? Or did they have a huge table that was loud and laughing? Did they talk about politics at dinner? Good information to have. And in which room did they dine? Again, was breakfast in the kitchen and dinner in the dining room? Were all the meals in the dining room? Did your loved one eat standing up at the counter out of the pot and pan? Plenty of people do that. Maybe they did. Did they have the TV on, and what show, or was there music on? Dining as an activity. You need to involve your loved one, client, or resident as much as possible. What can they help prepare? Can they stir the mashed potatoes? What can they do that's safe, that's helpful, that they feel like they're contributing? Can they wipe the table before or after the meal? Can they set the table or fold a napkin? Again, enhance the experience if you can with aromas, textures, colors. Offer a creative variety of foods. And again, good to know, what were the pre-meal traditions while waiting? Was there music on? Was anyone singing? Were they saying a prayer? In the dining environment, keep this in mind. What's the noise level? Is it too loud or too many people talking during the meal? The lighting. Is the lighting optimal for seeing the plate and the food? In the table setting, how many people are sitting at each table? And are the plates, glasses, utensils easy to see and to reach? I hope these tips have helped you become a better detective so that your loved one, client, or resident can have a pleasant and successful dining experience. Thank you for joining A Plus Aging Advantage and Aging Advantage today.
Righty. Well, that was good, huh, Rachel? I like that.
Yeah, I really like the example she used about the vision changes. I never really thought about that.
You know what? Something that came to mind to me. I often I'll tell my children, if you make sure you find a career or a job that you love doing, so that it's never, consider work for you a day in your life. You'll enjoy what you do, because me myself, it being in the medical field, I've been working in the medical field over 15 years, and during the course of my career, I noticed this is something I've always loved to do, right? Working with people, helping people, seeing people progress and do better, be happy. But I've noticed in this field, we're not only caregivers, no matter what line of work that you're doing in the medical field, you're still a caregiver, because you're always having to be considerate of someone else, right? Their well-being, some kind of way. Also, we are professional. The career I'm thinking about is professional customer service reps, like customer service people. Okay, and what I mean by that is you can't take every individual and put them like in a box. And I see that a lot of times now in medical, because the last 10 people I've dealt with, they had this, that, and the other, and this is how they did it. So I'm just gonna, your symptoms or whatever's going on with you, I'm gonna put you in that same box with them. And I may have one particular thing that's different, that's going to set me aside from the rest. So treat me as an individual instead of like a collective body. And I find that so many people do that, and it's disheartening, because when you get to the elderly, to the senior, we like Lila was saying, you kind of have to know each individual separately. A lot of things they may have done for years or they used to do it, but just what if now all of a sudden they used to eat mashed potatoes and green beans and meatloaf every Sunday, and they're not really eating it anymore. They're only eating the mashed potatoes. And you're thinking like, this is their favorite food. They've always eaten this. Yeah, maybe it was, but now they've changed. So now you have to take them for who they are, actually listen sometimes with our eyes. If they can't verbally tell us, no, I don't want that, I can't, you have to kind of be very proactive on seeing them, listening to them, watching them, seeing how they do things to see if there's a change. And maybe we need to alter the change. I mean, maybe they never ate applesauce and now they love it. You gave it to them one time with some medicine and they kept eating it. So maybe they want the applesauce now for a snack, just those kind of things just kind of came to mind to me as she was talking. And I mean, she really had a lot of great points, very
Mhm.
great points. And to myself, I enjoyed every scenario that she presented today. Was awesome. So that was my take.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for watching today. We really appreciate it and hope this segment was helpful.
Thanks. Bye bye.